Some heroes are like you and me. We live short, chaotic lives and we are incredibly squishy. But some heroes are the complete opposite. Immortal, indestructible forces of nature. I'm Adam Andrews with Top 10 Nerd, and we're going to talk about 10 of those heroes from the DC universe. But before we do, I know there are some heroes who I won't be talking about today that some of you guys absolutely love. So let me know those other unstoppable heroes that you love, and maybe they'll make part 2. But coming in at number 10, it's actually Superman. We're just gonna get this one out of the way now. Yes, Superman is practically unstoppable. On one hand, you've got what is probably the strongest, most durable guy in DC with a heart of gold and a strong moral compass. He's basically a god to us, but he is also one of the very first real superheroes to show up in comic books. The benchmark for what makes a hero a hero. If it's not his massive amounts of power and his strong will that keeps him in the fight, then it's his massive popularity. When DC had the death of Superman story, there was absolutely no way that Superman was gone forever. We've seen stories where he not only takes over the Earth, but stories where the Man of Steel lives until the absolute end of the universe itself. His own stories suffered because of the fact that he's just unbeatable. He's so damn powerful that nothing was a real challenge for him. Superboy Prime, essentially Superman without weaknesses, was one of the largest threats in the multiverse, and he went toe-to-toe with a Dr. Manhattan powered up Batman who laughs. Now I'm putting Superman at number 10 because he's a golden boy and he bothers me in a similar way to Captain America. I'm sorry. And at number 9 though is Orion. Orion is a new god and the son of Darkseid, and as a hero with a dark ancestry, he is quite the conflicted do-gooder. He has many forms and he has many abilities. He exists beyond the normal multiverse on a higher plane of existence called the Sphere of the Gods. Born on Apocalypse but adopted by the new gods of New Genesis, Orion is in a constant war with his inner darkness and with his father, Darkseid. Orion is repeatedly praised and stated to be a warrior with skill and ferocity second to none. While undercover on Apocalypse, he was their greatest warrior and would have slaughtered their entire army during training. He has held open the hand of the god of strength and might, who is threatening creation and ripping holes in reality with that strength. He stands against and fights a sun-amped up Superman one-on-one, something no one else in the Justice League was able to do, and he can tank star system destroying explosions. Orion moves with the speed of thought. His intelligence was enough that he created the Genesis box, which can destroy and rebuild a universe. He can grow to any size he wants, move through time, has a healing factor, super senses, and wields the Astro Force, which does a hell of a lot on top of everything else. But as an example, it once sealed holes in reality and knocked out Superman in a single shot. And that's all just Orion holding back and not using his true power, called the Source of the Beast. But I think we can agree Orion is a beast here. Coming in at number 8, Martian Manhunter. I think it's incredibly easy to overlook Martian Manhunter's incredible capabilities. Yes, he is more well known for being a telepath and a shapeshifter, but this guy packs a hell of a punch with the Martian abilities of phasing, Martian vision, and density alteration. Now, his probably most powerful form was when he became Furnace, completely negating his weakness for fire. But Furnace was a villain and therefore cannot really be on this list. But in DC 1 million, we get a John Johns who leads a war against Darkseid and gets him to surrender to the Source Wall, becoming trapped inside of it. The Source Wall, in return, gave John one wish. His wish was to become one with Mars, meaning John became a living planet while maintaining his multiversal telepathy and his genius intelligence. We don't get to see much of this version of John, but we can guess a lot of things about this version. Firstly, his weakness to fire is probably non-existent, because I mean, people gotta make fire on a planet to survive. We can also probably assume John keeps his other Martian abilities to a degree, and there's also the possibility that the passage of time has increased those natural abilities considering he's defeated Darkseid. We can also assume he would now also have the powers that usually come with being a living planet, like weather manipulation and control of the elements. He can control the sands of Mars to an incredible degree to do crazy things, so there's that. But in at number 7, Swamp Thing. Alec Holland was a scientist who, much like some other scientists, turned superhero when he was caught in a disaster. For Alec, it was an explosion. When he jumped away from the explosion, Alec was bathed in the chemical vats of the Louisiana swamps, and his memories were absorbed into the being known as Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is an immortal creature who fights to protect the planet from threats to nature, including many supernatural villains. The Swamp Thing has complete mastery over all forms of plant life, and through this power, he is in constant communication with the very essence of the Earth, the green, and he serves as the plant elemental for the entire planet. In the past, Swamp Thing has gained access to other elemental powers, like at one point gaining control over earth, water, air, and fire, in addition to that of plant life. Theoretically, so long as there is plant life on planet Earth, Swamp Thing will always have a vehicle through which to house his consciousness, which makes him effectively immortal. He has basically revived himself countless times, just forming a new body out of plant life every time the current body can't keep going on, and he didn't even know he was doing this for the longest time. As a member of the Justice League Dark, Swamp Thing has been called on to help battle many supernatural threats over the years, and his recent TV show was hella underrated. Bring that shit back. Number 6. Captain Atom. Nathaniel Atom was transformed into Captain Atom in the 60s after being semi-forced to participate in a potentially fatal experiment sitting at ground zero of a nuclear explosion encased in an alien metal. Now, the explosion didn't actually kill him. What it did do was bond the alien metal to his flesh, giving him superpowers and throwing him 20 or so years forward into the present day. The alien metal gave him incredible abilities like flight, matter manipulation, energy manipulation, time manipulation, energy absorption, telepathy, spatial manipulation, quantum manipulation, force field creation, time travel, magic and mind manipulation, and control over the quantum field. These powers have let him perform some insane feats, like you can imagine, like creating a universe within the quantum field and later destroying that universe, fighting Superboy Prime, easily defeating a team composed of multiple versions of himself before absorbing them and creating an explosion powerful enough to destroy a universal space-time continuum. That was a lot. He is truly an insanely strong being, and I would be ashamed to not include him on this list. But coming in after that, number 5, Wally West. It almost feels rude to put Wally West here over Barry Allen, but in a lot of ways, Wally is arguably stronger than Barry is. Wally is the fastest of all the Flashes, only maybe rivaled by Barry himself, but Wally is arguably the fastest person that has ever existed. Just look at some of his feats. He was fast enough to easily break the barriers of speed and be the first person to enter the Speed Force. He was able to save and carry over 500,000 people 35 miles away from a nuclear explosion that had already detonated, including the people who were at ground zero, and he did it in only 0.0001 microseconds, which, if you don't know, is 1/100 billionth of a second. Do you know what that means? That means Wally West had to be moving at 13 trillion times the speed of light. He can move so fast that time itself appears to stand still. He was able to outrun death itself, for crying out loud. My favorite version of Wally West, though, is from the Kingdom Come Elseworld story, where he becomes this being who is barely even tangible. He moves around Coast City, I believe, being at almost all places at the same time. He basically became the Speed Force. Wally West is absolutely broken. Number 4, Wonder Woman. Gifted with the powers of the gods, Wonder Woman has many of the same abilities that Superman has, including strength, speed, and durability. However, Wonder Woman's Amazonian training sets her a little bit apart as an amazing warrior. It's been debated for years whether Diana could beat Superman in a fight, and while she's shown to be capable of hurting him at the least, she doesn't have the same raw power. Instead, Wonder Woman dominates her opponents through a combination of her special abilities, superior tactics, and special equipment gifted to her by the gods. But she has been elevated beyond even that. When Diana was empowered with the World Forge and the anti-crisis energy at the end of Doom War / during Death Metal, she had enough power to shake stars and phase throughout time through sheer strength. She had displayed the ability to shrink an entire planet and was able to link everyone together and restore their memories as one history, as in of all dceu DC's continuity. She had cosmic awareness, was able to see multiple events during the war against the Batman Who Laughs at once, as well as precognition and retrocognition. She was crazy powerful for that little bit of time. And at number 3 is Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate is like DC's Sorcerer Supreme. There have been a handful of people over the years who have taken on the name, slapped on the powerful Amulet of Anubis, Cloak of Destiny, and Helmet of Fate, and been an agent of the Lords of Order, who govern raw magic in the universe. Kent Nelson was the original one, given his powers by Nabu, one of the Lords of Order. Now, without the powerful artifacts, Kent was given superhuman powers to make him more suitable for the Helmet of Fate, so he has telekinesis, flight, invulnerability, and superhuman strength. But when he has the actual helmet, his telekinesis has been strong enough to move an entire planet into the sun, which is just a wild level of power and shows just how much power the helmet grants its user. This ancient helmet is apparently the most powerful magical artifact the world has ever known. It's the source of the Dr. Fate identity, and while its power and the things it can do has changed in some small and not so small ways over the years, some of the things it has done include granting its wearer enhancements to their intelligence. It has given them elemental control over water, wind, earth, lightning, and fire. Of course, telekinesis, like I said, but also invulnerability, superhuman strength, magic sense, astral projection, clairvoyance, chronokinesis, dimensional travel, divination, eldritch blasts, energy constructs, force fields, healing, illusions, invisibility, magnetic field manipulation, hypnosis, molecular reconstruction, necromancy, resurrection, telepathy, teleportation, biofission, and then of course, divine empowerment. But you get what I'm saying, right? Number 2, Dr. Manhattan. John Osterman was a nuclear physicist who found himself trapped inside of an intrinsic field experiment chamber, which completely removed his intrinsic field, tearing him apart and completely vaporizing him. But over the next few months, he began to reform himself, starting as a disembodied nervous system, circulatory system, and then with a skeleton and muscles, and then finally, after trying multiple times, he appeared fully, tall, muscular, hairless, and glowing blue. Now, John sees the past, present, and future all at once, but it's not just his perception of time. He even figured out how to see the timelines of others and even possible timelines. He is basically nigh omniscient with an understanding of the universe on a cosmic scale. It's hard to even describe what his powers actually are. His powers and knowledge give him the ability to travel through time, and he has completely fractured the timeline into infinite alternate realities existing in all of them at the same time, or simultaneously, if that makes more sense. John possesses electrokinesis and elemental control, creating oxygen and water out of literally nothing. He perceives and understands things that no human brain could ever hope to. He has such a control over energy that he can even create life and accelerate evolution. He can manipulate matter to make himself and others intangible, alter his size, regenerate himself, disintegrate others, and cause molecules to accelerate and explode. His manipulation of space, time, and reality is what ultimately caused the New 52. He is a god in DC Comics. And finally, in at number 1, the Specter. A lot like Dr. Fate and the Helmet of Fate, the Specter isn't really one person. The Specter itself is actually a cosmic entity and is the physical manifestation of God's vengeance on Earth. But this spirit, or entity, needs to be permanently bonded to a human soul in order to manifest itself. Jim Corrigan, a fallen Hal Jordan, and then Crispus Allen have been the main 3 humans to be the host for the Specter. Now, being God's spirit of vengeance, you can probably guess that the Specter is one hell of a capable being, and you're not wrong. Specter has the power to do pretty much anything. The Specter is nigh omnipotent. He has the capability to alter reality, literally erasing people from existence. He can alter his size to grow to any height. He can fire off mystical blasts of eldritch energy, and he has vast magical capabilities that allow him to cast spells to do pretty much anything else he wants to do. His wiki even says that his superhuman strength can, quote, be as strong as it needs to be, which I don't know why that matters. Kind of feels like a little pointless when he can literally alter reality and only be harmed by mystical and divine means, but yeah, just work here. The Specter has infinite energy, has held apart 2 universes, can judge any reality in any dimension, and has the power to tear down heaven and hell. You can't really beat that. But that's all the time I've got here. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch y'all on the flippity flop. Peace out, nerds.